Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to my channel, and today we're doing a tier list. I think it's time, after all we've been through, to do a tier list on some ARK bosses. Now for this list, we're only including bosses from the DLC that are considered bosses by the wiki. And the wiki includes all of the island, Scorched Earth, and Aberration. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first boss we're talking about is the Broodmother. Now the Broodmother, she is one heck of a boss. I mean, giant spiders, just 1950s monster movie, totally. Now the Broodmother, she has some pretty nasty advantages. She has her special attacks that do torpor damage, as well as spawning in 20 Araneo minions at a time to web you and just give you a really bad time. So those are some good strengths of hers. She can web you, reduce your movement speed, inflict torpor. Not a good situation. But the good thing is, if you have a Megatherium army, she can actually be a pretty easy boss to take down, because Megatheriums, whenever they hit an invertebrate, including the Broodmother, they become enraged and they do bonus damage. So the Broodmother, if you have a Megatherium army, she is vulnerable to that. She is also at a greater risk if you bring in Spinos, because her arena has water in it, and Spinos get a water buff. So you get your Spinos through that water and you start attacking her, you got that Spino buff going for you. On top of that, you can bring in a Uranus. Yeah, so Broodmother, in my opinion, she's the easiest boss on the island to take out. I know some people suggest that she's intermediate just because she has a special attack. I say she's the easiest because the artifacts for her, which are Massive, Clever, and Hunter, in my opinion, those are the easiest artifacts to get. As well as the fact that Megatherium army, that's pretty easy. You get Megatheriums before you get Rexes. A Rex Rush also works against her, but for me, Megatherium, every time I take her on, Megatherium is the way to do it. So, ranking her on a list from easiest to hardest, Broodmother, you're going to get C tier, because I think she is actually probably the easiest boss on the island. That's just my personal opinion. A lot of people say she's medium, but for me, I just think she is the easiest, even though once you get past those special defense, because the artifacts are easy to get. You have a Megatherium army. Their saddles aren't as expensive. You should bring a Uranus in with you, so that could be the pain in the butt. But Gamma and Beta is usually pretty easy. Alpha Broodmother, yeah, I can see how a lot of people are like, Alpha is a pain. Alpha Broodmother is a pain. But in my personal opinion, from my experience, I think C tier is the appropriate rating. So let's move on to our next boss. Okay, next boss, the Megapithecus. Now, the Megapithecus, to me, I don't like the Megapithecus. The Megapithecus is a pain. One, because of the artifacts. You need a Basilosaurus to get one of the artifacts, the artifact of the Brute. You also need the artifacts of the Pack and Devourer. Pack can be kind of hard to get. Devourer, you need a Thylacoleo to get to that one, because you have to go through so many Megalania and bats to get that artifact. Now, the Megapithecus itself does not have an attack that has like a special effect, like a Torpor or anything like the Broodmother, but its Boulder Toss does do more damage than its ground pound attack. So that can be kind of an issue. There's also an area in the arena that's a insta-kill pit if you fall into it. So if you fall into that pit in the arena, it's game over for you. And the Megapithecus attack has a knockback effect, so that can work towards its advantage. It also summons Gigantopithecus and Megapithecus minions, which they're pretty easy to take out. They have quite a few hit points. But the Megapithecus, compared to the Broodmother, has fewer hit points, but can pack a punch. So for me, definitely Rex Army, for sure. Get a bunch of Rexes. For me, Tech Rexes, because Tech Rexes tend to be tougher than your normal vanilla Rexes. Also Uteranus. You definitely need a Uteranus for this guy. You need that extra damage going on. Because, I don't know, there's just something about giant gorillas that makes you think they pack a punch, you know, especially after you see them climb out the Empire State Building. Yeah, I had to do a King Kong reference there. But for me, Megapithecus is the medium. Now, I know there's controversy saying Broodmother's medium, Megapithecus easy. For me, even though it has fewer hit points, the fact that it does so much more damage with that boulder throw settles it for me. I'm just down and staying with the fact that it is a much tougher boss than Broodmother. So it gets B tier for being a tough boss, because it can beat you quite easy if you are not ready. Okay, so the dragon. For me, definitely the hardest boss on the island. The dragon is a pain. And I just cannot think of a way to stress how hard the dragon is. Dragon is definitely an in-game boss. Even though our next contestant is the in-game boss, if there wasn't a next contestant, dragon would definitely be it. But the dragon, you need the artifacts of the Skylord, Cunning, Immune, and Strong. And the artifact of the Strong is a nightmare to get on the island. Yeah. So when you go to the dragon arena, you see there are ruins in there that you can get stuck on, and the dragon can get stuck on. So if the dragon gets stuck, that's good because you can rush it. But if you get stuck on it, the dragon's gonna rush you. Also, the fact that the dragon tends to target you as opposed to your army, that's been my experience. Every time I go take on the dragon, it comes up to me. So that can be a pain. Also, aside from that bite attack, which does some damage, its flame attacks, the flame breath, and the fireball is a pain to deal with, because you get hit by that, you're dead. It's an instant kill. So you definitely, and it targets you with those attacks, so you definitely need to be ready to dodge those fireballs, especially when it's flying. And also another thing about the dragon, if whatever you're riding, if you push into the dragon, it will take off. Because when the dragon lands, I think, it doesn't say this anywhere in the wiki, but I think its stamina immediately like jumps back up, but it doesn't take off because it's going to do damage to your army before it takes off again. But the dragon definitely with that flame attack. So if you're going to take on the dragon, Therizinosaurus. Rex's horrible idea because of that lava flow. They will fall into that lava and they will burn and die. Theres will not. Theres are smaller. and they take less damage from the dragon's fireball. Not the direct flame breath, but the fireball. As long as you have Sweet Veggie Cake in your Theory's inventory, and they're well leveled and they're bred and imprinted, you should be fine. And a Uteranus is a must for this boss. You must be riding a Uteranus and giving that auto courage. But I think that sums up the dragon very well. A tier. And the Overseer, the in-game boss. Yes, this boss is quite a challenge if you are not right. Actually, it is probably one of the most dramatic boss fight. It is my favorite boss fight out of all of ARK. I love the Overseer boss. But for me, the Overseer, there are two parts to this fight. The tech cave and then the fight itself. So when you're going through the tech cave, you bring your army. You can bring up to 50 creatures with you, one of which must be a shoulder pet, either a ferox or an otter, because it gets wicked hot and wicked cold. Wicked hot in the tech cave, wicked cold once you reach the observation deck, which is where the Overseer's at. And while you are in the tech cave, all of your tech stuff is disabled, except, or your tech jetpack is. Helmet still works, leggings work, boots work, and your gauntlets work. And once you've traversed through the tech cave, taken out the level 400, 500, 600 creatures, it gets that tough, yeah. And the gigas in there. There can be, I think, 3 or 4 gigas sometimes. I've experienced a max of 3, but I've heard of some instances where there are 4 gigas, and that's not fun. Having to deal with 4 gigas. But I would definitely say, once the army that you need for the Overseer, you definitely need, Theres for when it takes the form of the dragon. You need Rexes for when it takes the form of the Megapithecus. And for the Broodmother, don't bring Megatherium because they don't do anything. The Overseer is not vulnerable to the Megatherium Rage. I've experimented that. Don't do it. Yeah, Megatherium, bad idea. Don't do it. So bring Rexes, Theres, Aloes are a good idea as well. You can use the Aloes against the Megapithecus and the dragon. I would also bring, if you have gone to Gen 2, maybe a few Shadow Mains. I wouldn't bring too many, but I would definitely bring a Shadow Main for the Tech Cave to be your line leader. Because it's something you can bring to the boss fight. I would say Thylacoleo, but you cannot bring Thylas into the Overseer boss fight. Shadow Mains you can, so definitely bring a Shadow Main. Also, I recommend 2 or 3 Uteranus, so you get that Courage Roar going. And definitely make sure everything you bring in packs a punch, because this dude hits like a truck. So when it's summoning its minions, going after you and everything, and zapping its laser beams and dismounting you and freezing you to death in the observation deck, yeah, a boss like that definitely deserves A+ on this list, because he is a force to be reckoned with. But once you defeat him, you get to ascend off the island and you have beaten the game. So definitely worth the wait and definitely an awesome fight. Okay, so now that we have finished the island raiding, we are going to Scorched Earth to take a look at the Mana Core. Now the Mana Core is the second fantasy creature, the first being the dragon, And I really enjoy the Mana Core. The Mana Core, it's a really fun fight. It's also surprisingly easy. The hardest part is getting the 20 Wyvern Talons that you need to go into the boss arena. Because you need to take on the Alpha Mana Core, you need 20 Wyvern Talons of each Wyvern. So 20 Poison, 20 Fire, 20 Lightning, as well as all 3 artifacts. The artifacts of the Gatekeeper, Destroyer, and Crag. And once you have all of those artifacts and those 20 Talons, go to an obelisk and go to the Mana Core arena. You can bring 20 Tames. I recommend 1 Uteranus, and everything else Rexes. Just bring an army of Rexes. Regular or tech Rexes, doesn't matter. Rexes are definitely the go-to for the Mana Core, Gamma, Beta, or Alpha. Because there's nothing else on Scorched Earth that can hit like a Rex. Karnos can't do it. Uteranus can't do it. You just need the Uteranus there for that Courage Roar. But they can take the Mana Core pretty fast. Now, the Mana Core stamina goes down really, really fast. So it's constantly having to land for stamina. And you're constantly attacking it. Now, once you get the first quarter of the way through the fight, Deathworms start showing up. Second half of the fight, Rock Elementals. So that's why you need to have Rexes with high hit points. Also, be ready for the Torpor attack, because that Stinger of the Mana Core shoots out spikes that give your critters a ton of Torpor. I mean, some of them will probably be unconscious when you leave that boss arena. But the Mana Core is definitely a fun fight. I really enjoy it, and it's definitely the easiest fight, so it has to get a D on this list. And our final boss on today's list, Rockwell. Rockwell, formerly the human Sir Edmund Rockwell, has now become this atrocious beast, this creature straight out of hell, you may say. And he, by far, is an insanely tough boss. You need all the power you can get. You need to, for him, you better bring your best Megalosaurus, bring your best Reapers, bring a Rock Drake, bring your best shotgun. You are definitely going to need a shotgun for this guy. Or a tech rifle. Definitely tech stuff. You can use tech stuff in his fight, so definitely bring tech. Because his minions are a bunch of Nameless and a bunch of Reapers. And he is just... how can I describe him? Gamma Rockwell is harder than Alpha Dragon. This guy is just a nightmare to beat. Trust me, I would rather take on the Alpha Dragon 10 times in a row than Rockwell. Alpha Rockwell, he is a force to be reckoned with. So, yeah, definitely bring your best stuff, because what you have to do is you have to kill his tentacles, which will cause him to collapse, and while his tentacles are regrowing, that will allow him to stand back up. You send your army to go chew on him because he can't attack while he's hunched over, and then when his tentacles regrow and he's not hunched over, you call your army back, and yeah, it's hard. It's definitely a hard fight. Also, he shoots balls of pure radiation at you as well. And you have to shoot those, and the brighter the color of the ball, I believe the more dangerous it is, the more damage it will do to you. Yeah, he is just a nightmare, and he has Reapers everywhere. nameless everywhere, and they are fast. They will remain aggroed on you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, beating him, you're definitely in for the long haul, and you definitely better be ready to lose pretty much all your army. S tier. So that does it for our rating of all of our bosses today. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly did. So let me know down in the comments. Do you think Rockwell deserves S tier? Or do you think another boss does? Do you think another boss is harder than I said it was? Do you think it's easier? Do you think anything deserved an F or F minus? Just let me know in the comments. So anyway, be sure to like, subscribe, and I will see you guys for another tier list in the future.